Welcome everyone. Last week I talked about the importance of using diaries and letters as a critical resource in bringing our ancestors' world into context. But diaries and letters are not the only method of social history resource that we have available to us to help us flesh out our ancestors' stories. There is a long list of resources that can help us bring our ancestors' life to the page. When we start to write about an ancestor, it's essential to create a timeline of their life. This helps us to see the big picture and to get a handle on everything that happened to them in their life so that we can begin to make sense of it and the story that we're going to write. It's a great tool to help us flesh out that story. But it's equally imperative to look at the world, regional, and local history to map out these events, either on the same timeline or parallel timelines. It's necessary to consider what was happening in the world around your ancestors and that relationship to their life of those events. Did these events influence your ancestors in some way? Historical events can provide both a background and a setting for your story. However, while these events can add a lot of color and depth to your story, it's crucial to not just insert an historical event into your ancestors' narrative. It's important to look at how those events may have impacted your ancestor, their actions and their reactions. Some events will be easy to include due to your ancestors' direct relationship to that event. But do not discount an occurrence because it did not happen directly to your ancestor. Okay? It may have happened in the background, and it may have influenced their life, but just not directly. And these historical events may have occurred before, during, or even after the story. It may be something from the past that sets in motion a current event in your story. Historical events, they will add richness to your story. It can also help to establish the tone of your story for the reader. It's important to consider how the event may have changed your ancestors' feelings, attitudes, culture, even society. These historical events may strengthen your story ideas and feed your ancestors' narrative. Perhaps your ancestors' story will be political or a social statement, maybe about women's rights, maybe adoption or slavery or corruption in politics or the environment, to name just a few. You could also look at historical events to help you build your story ideas and themes. Now, remember, do not limit yourself to just those large world events. Regional and local events must also be considered. We often think of wars and national tragedies when discussing historical events. However, a local storm that causes devastation to area crops, or local politics or a fire may play a significant role in your ancestors' life and their decisions. Be sure to consult your local history books and newspapers to learn about these events. They will provide context and richness to your story while placing your ancestors in their world and making them more real and believable to your reader. So once you've plotted out your ancestors' life on a timeline, be sure to do the same with world, regional, and local events. Can you correlate any of these events with the decisions your ancestor made? Do they relate directly with any hardships he or she may have experienced? Doing so will help you to write a much richer and more entertaining narrative for your reader. That's it for today. I'll see you next week back here at Storylines.